Was unraveling last night in the CBD of Sandton. Police are searching for a group of men after two Uber vehicles and a metered taxi was set alight in Sandton, north of Johannesburg last night. According to witnesses, around 15 men believed to be metered taxi drivers petrol bombed the Uber vehicles. The vehicles were parked near the Sandton International Conference Centre, where the Johannesburg Art Festival is currently being held. Attacks on Uber drivers by metered taxi drivers who are complaining that they are losing business have escalated in the past few months. In July, an Uber driver died after his car was set alight near the Loftus Versfeld Stadium in Pretoria. Now on the line, we have got Ishmael Mnisi. He is the spokesperson for our Transport Minister here in South Africa, Joe Maswanganyi. Ishmael, a very good morning to you. What's being done by the Transport Ministry to tackle the growing turf war between Uber and metered taxi drivers?
Well, Leanne, up front, I think we must denounce these acts of violence and intimidation and the act of arson that we have seen yesterday in Sandton. It is indeed uncalled for. And moreover, because as the Department of Transport and the Ministry, we met with these operators in July to deal with this solution. Now, the application of the National Land Transport Act is very clear that all land-based transport needs to be operated under this act, and that there is no person who must operate the road-based public transport services unless he or she is the holder of a legal operating license or a permit. Now, we are informed that the crust or the top of these clashes are the issues of people who are operating without licenses, and we informed both parties that they must not take law into their hands. They must report all the incidences to the police if they find that there is an operator among themselves who is operating illegally. Now, what we have seen yesterday actually is a violation of the agreement we have had with them, and that the law is going to take its course.
Let's talk about possibilities here, because I mean we've seen one Uber driver losing his life. We've also now seen the CBD Sandton. I mean, this is something where they're burning cars, 3 cars set alight in the middle of Sandton. I mean, these are really big acts of violence that are happening. Is there a possibility of a temporary ban on both of these taxi groups? I'm talking Uber and metered taxis, to allow for some sort of settlement to be reached, because this has been an ongoing violence for some time now.
Leanne, the Minister of Transport will continue engaging with both the parties to find an amicable solution. Of course, failure to do so, that might be considered, that we would therefore come to a conclusion of banning both their operations, or even the withdrawal of the permits for those that are found wanting, or those that would be implicated in this violence. I must say, Liam, that working together with the police, we have made strides in arresting people who have been operating without operating licenses, and those that are muting violence against the other operators. We are quite happy with that progress. However, these things must now be dealt with finally. And the operators themselves, the associations and the Uber management must now play their role and talk to their operators that they need to work within the confines of the law. Failure to do so, any possibility in terms of the National Land Transport Act will be applied for those that do not follow this act.
Looking deeper into the situation, we do know that there's 15 suspects, and these are the men that are thought to be from metered taxis. Their behavior, have you condemned what they are doing to these Uber drivers? Because, it does seem that the intimidation is getting out of control. And, obviously you don't want to put blame anywhere, but it's difficult not to look at metered taxi drivers and say, look, let the guys do their work. Have you engaged with them seriously? Because it seems that this is possibly where the problem is lying.
Leanne, there are counter-accusations by both operators, and we met with both of them and made an impression on them to stop this act of intimidation and violence. We met with them not once but several times, indicating to them the importance of upholding the law, the importance of upholding the conditions of the permits that we're giving them. Because remember, when we issue a permit to operators, there are rules and regulations there, and amongst them is that they need to cease any acts of their intimidation and violence and operate within the confines of that permit. Failure for them to do so then gives us the right to withhold or to withdraw that permission, or to even officially cancel it if such an operator does not comply with the law. However, as we are saying that the room of engagement is still there with them, and it is at a point where we feel that such engagement have been exhausted. Now we then need to come with punitive measures to seize all the operations of this up until we bring them to the discussion table and this violence is stopped immediately. We make an appeal to them, and we are still making it today, that if they do not stop these acts of violence and threatening of even the passengers themselves, they would we will stop their operations.
All right, Ishmael, thank you very much for talking to us here on the program. Ishmael Mnisi is the spokesperson for our Transport Minister. Ishmael, before I let you go, obviously heightened security and police presence throughout Sandton. I know that was what initiated. I think I've lost him. All right, but I'm sure we'll find that out as we go along. But as far as we do know, that there is heightened security in Sandton, particularly around the Gautrain station where these incidents took place, and the convention centre. The question of the day here on Morning Live is, who is to blame for the ongoing meter, taxi and Uber violence? We'd love to hear your opinions at Morning Live SABC, and you can tweet us anytime you'd like and we'll read those on air. And also, do you feel safe getting into an Uber these days?